Okay, we are live. I'll wait for a few people and then we'll get started. Hello for everybody on the replay. This is Rhetorical Analysis Practice Essay. And right now I'm actually getting a Nearpod set up, which is how we'll be doing this today. So I'm just gonna wait for a few people to pop in and then we'll get started. And I'm also going to set up a pod in the meantime. Okay, hello. Welcome to Rhetorical Analysis Practice Essay. And today we're actually going to be using Nearpod to help write your practice essay. It's going to be fantastic. And yeah, so give me a hot second and then I'm going to send y'all a code in the chat. So actually, have y'all used Nearpod before? If you have, put like a thumbs up in the comments. I just want to see if y'all have interacted with it before I like dive into something new, because yeah. Okay, that's good. I'm glad you have. It's taking a bit to like give y'all a code, but I'll just go to nearpod.com and then that's where you'll be able to access this. That's where you'll be able to access like the place to enter code, and then we'll start today's live lesson. And I do apologize at the end of it, like some of it didn't say in terms of like writing some parts of the, what am I saying? Some parts of the like body paragraphs and stuff. I'll just like have y'all type it in the chat rather than typing it on Nearpod. So that's kind of on me, but it's okay. We'll work with it. So I'm gonna click live lesson here, and your code, I'm gonna type it in the chat because I want to mess it up. DPFWK. So go to nearpod.com and type DPFWK. Cool. And in the meantime, share that tab. Sorry, it's my first time using Nearpod, so I'm gonna try and figure it out. Okay. Cool. So go to Nearpod and DPFWK, and then we'll start on this in a bit. I'll wait for a few people to join the Nearpod, and then we'll begin. Okay, cool. Thank you, Stephen. I see someone else is here. That's okay, actually. You can sign in, Eunice, I believe. You can sign in on Nearpod as we go with the stream. So yeah, I guess I'll start. So welcome to Rhetorical Analysis Practice Essay. I'm Brandon Wu, and I was in AP English Language last year. So this is Fiveable, obviously, and I highly encourage you to follow them on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube because they have really fantastic content on all three of their platforms. They even send out like reminders occasionally, even on their Instagram stories. So if you like forget when streams are, you should check Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And coming soon, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern, there's going to be an embedding quotes with Justin Nazario stream. There are more streams to go and after Thanksgiving break. When I get new information about that, I'll send you an email through Crowdcast like last time, or even like Stephanie or Justin will send you an email. Just, like, be on the lookout because the email that's associated with your Crowdcast account will be the one that that will let you know what our next is. Cool. So in today's stream, we're first going to be covering like modeling and how you can essentially model your AP language essay, because I don't want to just throw you all into a practice essay without like giving a little bit of review. And then we'll do practices. We'll do a practice essay in the structure of sentence, evidence and commentary, and then repeating. So we're actually going to do a survey. So my question is, watch the rhetorical modeling essay last night? So yes, you did. Yes, I watched the replay. No or no answer. Let me know. Also, cool. That's okay. If you haven't watched the essay, or sorry, the stream, then you can just either watch Fiveable Plus, or we'll just go through a quick review of what Stephanie covered last night, and then after that, we'll just get started. For the new people, again, we're using Nearpod today, and Nearpod is just an interactive website which we can use to help basically help write the practice essay. So go to nearpod.com and type in DPFWK, and if you're on a phone, you should hear my voice regardless of if you like leave the Crowdcast app. On a computer, obviously, you can have two tabs side by side. So I'd highly recommend you go to nearpod.com and type in the code DPFWK. Cool. And if you have any questions about Nearpod, or if you have any questions in general, leave them in the chat on Crowdcast, and just let me know. Cool. Let's move on. So in terms of modeling, I don't know if you've watched the intro body paragraph streams either, but on rhetorical analysis essays, it's really, really important that you annotate the prompt, annotate the article, and then write a sample thesis, all in that one. The first step is batting the prompt. That means analyzing the background, advice, and task. So the background is considering each sentence in context, thinking of oh, if this is in the 1860s, what time period is this? What kind of attitudes they have towards specific issues, and what are the facts that the prompt gives me, and what are the implications? The advice is what the prompt is advising you. So they say that I should this and this and this. I should do this. And the task is what do they want to do? So that's batting. All right. So in this case, we have this image. In 1830, John Downer traveled to the United States from England and took a job so that he could earn enough money to enable his wife and children to join him. Read the following letter from Down to his wife, then write an essay in which you answer the rhetorical strategies that Down uses to convince his wife to emigrate to the US. So I would like you to annotate this prompt. If you want to bat it, so find the background, find the advice, find the task. I know it's a little bit tough on mobile potentially. So if you also want, you can just way you would in your regular AP English class, or the way you annotate it right now. Because honestly, I don't want to change things up from you that make you uncomfortable or are different the way you've always done it. So yeah, draw it. In fact, I'm going to try doing this. So for those of you who aren't logged into Nearpod, to make it a little bit more convenient, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a screen of what you would see in Nearpod. So let's do that real quick. Give me a second. I think it's this one. Sorry about that. What am I doing? Okay. And yeah, Steven, if you're working on that, draw it. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm going to share this one. Cool. So how I would annotate this, share in just a bit. Cool, Eunice is in. I should have set a time limit, but that's okay. I'll just share all of Chrome. I think that's what I'll do, because that might be a little bit more convenient. Sorry for all those like video changing stuff. Just to keep with me, I think that should do it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so first we'll look at Stephen's that. So here he highlights the B. In 1830, John Down, a weaver, traveled to the US from England. So that is the background. It tells you, like, in the 1830s, migration from Western Europe, and took a job so he could earn enough money to enable his wife and children to join him. Read the following letter from Down to his wife. Then write you analyze the rhetorical strategies that Down uses to convince his wife to emigrate to the United States. Okay, to answer your question, Stephen, you asked, would that be advice? The bottom underline. Actually, the write an essay in which you analyze, starting from that is all the task. The analyze is just the read the following letter from Down to his wife. Sometimes different prompts. This is a prompt from 2008, but you will see in newer prompts that, or actually this is like 2011 actually. In newer prompts, the read the following letter would be followed by some other sentences. All right, I want to see if there's any other student submissions. And whenever y'all are done, submit on Nearpod, and I'll show y'all on my screen. After you finish annotating, just click the submit button, and then we'll review it live on the stream. And in about 20 seconds, I'll just start doing my own bat and how I would annotate this, just to make it as interactive as possible. And also be aware, there is no highlighting, no highlighters on the AP test. So I would actually encourage you not to highlight. That's okay if you like highlighted already, no big deal. Okay, cool. So this is how I would highlight it, or how I'd annotate it, sorry. Let's shrink it a little bit. So in 1830, on Down, a weaver, traveled to the United States from England. That's the first part. And I normally wouldn't box it. I'd probably like bracket it. And took a job so that he would earn enough money to enable his wife and children to join him. So that information is really, really important, that he enabled his wife and children to join him. This is all background. So you think, oh, this is the 19th century. We have people emigrating towards the US. Good job. By the way, if you're new here, check in the chat. There's a Nearpod code, and that's where we're going to be doing the most part of our essay writing today. And it's just a way to, and for me to look at y'all's annotations, and also like for you to submit your theses, things like that. All right. Okay, so that's all the background. All of your annotations will come. Read the following letter from Down to his wife. That is your advice. What are they asking you to do? What am I going to do? And the task is to analyze the rhetorical strategies that Down uses to convince his wife to emigrate to the United States. That is the task. And I know, kind of sloppy, but yeah, click submit and it's in. Let's see if any of y'all's are in. Let me make sure it's been submitted. Cool. Yep, runs in. Yeah, so B-A-T, that. All right. Cool. So I guess we'll move on to the next slide. So in terms of modeling, remember that when you're writing your theses, and by the way, if you can't be on Nearpod, that's okay. Like leave your comments, like type your theses and things like that. Just go ahead and type them in the comment section and we'll make it work. All right. Okay, where was I? We're going to do a modeling review. So you can use two plans, TOBY or IDA. TOBY is Catherine's like way she writes her rhetorical analysis. So she starts with a thesis. That means creating a sentence that's solid, defensible, and analyzes the writer's rhetorical choices. To your outline, that means you quickly jot your ideas to help you plan your written response. And then finally, you end with your big idea, the lasting impact of the text, the message that makes it like Why does this text matter? I use the IDA method, but I also try a little bit of TOBY occasionally. I think they honestly work hand in hand. The IDA method, you first identify rhetorical devices or things like diddles, which is diction, imagery. I'm forgetting, I'm like blanking right now. Details, language, and syntax. So details are like just like details from the prompt. Language is figurative language, like similes, metaphors, personification. And the S is for syntax in terms of like sentence structure. Then you do the D, which is decide. Figure out if that those rhetorical devices like link to your thesis or the author's purpose. And finally, you analyze. How does this impact the audience, and why did the author use that device in the first place? So what strategy do you want to use on the AP exam? So in your rhetorical analysis, do you prefer IDA? Do you prefer TOBY? Do you want to use both? Or another strategy from my AP Lang teacher? Go ahead and answer the poll. My personal answer, a mix of both. Takes a second to show up here. Cool, 2 people for both. Probably should have made all of the above, but yeah, I'm just curious. And once again, for those of you who are just watching on Crowdcast and aren't on Nearpod, just type your answer in the chat box. I just where y'all are at before we get into this prompt and really break it down and write our essay. All right, cool. Let's move on. So in terms of your thesis, the way I would model it is first you want the what. So that means in his short story, in his speech, title, author, John Jones of University of Pennsylvania asserts that something and something. He uses rhetorical devices as a peaceful tone and a call to action in order to purpose. So that's something you would thesis. And I'm sure y'all are covering rhetorical analysis in class and you've done this quite a bit. So just do what your teacher says. Make sure you're answering the what, the how, the why, and the to or for whom. The audience, and what's the author's relationship to the audience. So the author is trying to convince his audience of females, or his audience of teachers and this and this, right? In terms of body paragraph modeling, you have your topic sentence or transition. So the author's last name begins with some claim. They begin by exclaiming that this, and then you use a specific example to support your idea. Provide explicit textual support woven into your comments to support your claim by discussing strategies used in that beginning section with text support. And then the most important part, the commentary aspect of evidence and commentary, connect the strategy back to your main claim or the purpose of the prompt as a whole. That's how you would do like the first body paragraph. The second body paragraph, you would essentially bring up a transition. So after the author does this, the author moves to do something else, or they build off the strategy he used to begin. And then you connect an idea from the last sentence of the previous paragraph to the paragraph, showing how strategies build upon each other. You provide explicit text support woven into your comments to support your claim by discussing all strategies used, and connect the strategy back to your main claim or thesis or the purpose. That's all. Okay, cool. I see that more of y'all Nearpod. That's great. Good to know. So your conclusion is your chance to have the last word on the subject. You can consider broader issues. And I'm very flexible. So you can give your reader something to take away. You can talk about broader implications on society. You can use sophistication, even include like a summary main points, but don't ever just repeat your intro. Show your reader how the points you made kind of fit together and how it impacts society. So in this essay, what we're essentially going to do this stream in is in sections. So once again, I think it's pretty important that you're on Nearpod for this thing to work easier. But how we're going to do it is first, we're going to spend 3 minutes annotating the thesis, and I'll look at them, I guess, but they're honestly for you. 12 minutes reading and annotating your article, and then you'll basically during that 12 minutes, you'll also make notes on maybe a Word document, or if you're watching or a laptop, I would encourage you to take out a sheet of paper, basically somewhere to write on, whether that be a document, like a Word doc, or a piece of paper. You'd want to jot down some ideas for topics, maybe find where there is the prompt, find some examples of rhetorical devices, maybe note those down. And we'll have 3 minutes for the topic sentence, 2 minutes for the evidence, and 3 minutes for commentary. How I've scheduled today's stream is that ideally speaking, we will finish it in 40 minutes, which is the exact amount of time that you get on the AP exam, 40 minutes per essay. And in that case, this will end us just under 40 minutes or so. Yeah, it would land us actually at 50. So I want to cut some of this down. So maybe 2 to 3 body points at that point. So yeah, let's begin then. So we will be using the 2011 AP English Language Rhetorical Analysis prompt from the Great Influenza. So our first 3 minutes, I'll be timing on my phone because I didn't time on Nearpod, which is my fault completely. But they will be spent annotating the prompt, and I would recommend you use a background. Remember, identify the background, look for your advice, then do the task, or you can just annotate as you do in class. So, okay, we'll start our time now. So for those of you who aren't on Nearpod right now, it looks like this. In the following Great Influenza, an account of the 1918 flu epidemic, author John M. Barry, I'm not going to read it out loud, you can read it, writes about scientists and the research. Read the passage carefully. Yeah. And actually, I'm going to shorten this to 2 minutes because I don't think you need that much time. And also, I can't add. It's English language streamer. And also, when you are done, just after you finished annotating, just click the submit button in the bottom right, and we'll go through some of them. And yeah, I'm super excited. We have about 1 minute remaining. Okay, we have a submission. In the following passage from the Great Influenza, an account from the 1918 flu epidemic, author J.M. Barry writes about, yep, that's all background. That read is technically advice. Sometimes there's more. Then analyze how Barry uses rhetorical methods to characterize scientific research. That's your task. Cool. And we are approaching our 2 minute mark. So in about 10 seconds, and while that happens, I'll just do my own bat. So that's really the important B. Advice. And that's the T. Okay, please press submit. Thank you for submitting on time. Still waiting. Okay, yeah, this is mine. So I think the main piece of background in this prompt is the 1918 flu epidemic. Your A is the read the passage carefully, your advice or what you're doing, and then the task is analyze how Barry uses rhetorical devices to characterize scientific research. Okay. Is there any prompts that would give an advice that is other than to read the passage? That's a good question. Here. So if we check the AP Lang release free response, I think I can show you that, Stephen. So just give me a second. Sometimes you'll get a read and think about something. That's an example in which your advice would be a little bit longer. It also comes up a lot in AP English literature. Think about a book in which, but that's a little bit different. So for instance, I think in the 2013 FRQ, there might have been an instance in which the advice was longer. Also, batting your prompt applies to rhetorical analysis, synthesis, and argument. So like even here, your advice would be avoid merely summarizing the sources. Make sure your argument is central. Indicate all of this would be advice on the synthesis. And then here in this question too, I would argue like support your analysis with specific references to the text. Last sentence is advice, student. So that isn't always in the same order. I hope that helps. So not only are you reading the passage carefully, but you're also supporting the specific references to the text. That last sentence is an example of advice. So back on to our annotations. Okay, cool. So now we have our essay here, and we're going to annotate it. So I think this next one should be a draw it. Yeah. So how would you annotate this image? We're going to give you about, we'll say 9 minutes. This will be all time. Annotate it myself really quickly. It's strength. Some text. So as you can see here, it's a little bit more difficult than when you're just doing paper or something like that. But you can still work with it. So like for instance, for Nearpod, welcome everybody. That first thing I noticed on this prompt is the repetition and uncertainty. So that should tell you something. I think of it as contrast. And by the way, this is an official prompt that not my AP, that College Board used. Certainty makes me tense. And make your own annotations because it's what you would do in a p-test. So let's try doing that. And you have about 7. Then if you're on the Nearpod, make sure you're annotating. If not, you can just look at what I'm displaying in here and just like note devices in the chat. But if you're on Nearpod, just keep annotating on Nearpod. I don't expect any of y'all to have finished by now. And I also wanted to remind y'all what the thesis, what the prompt was in case you might have forgotten. So our prompt today was annotating. Sorry. In case you forgot, our prompt about 4 minutes left. Sorry, I'll update you every 2 minutes. Our prompt, this is not the right prompt. My fault. There we go. In the following passage from the Great Influenza, an account of the 1918 flu epidemic, author John Barry writes about scientists and their research. Read the passage carefully, then in a well-written essay, analyze how Barry uses rhetorical strategies to characterize scientific research. That is your prompt, and I would encourage you to annotate to that prompt. You have 3 minutes remaining. Yep. You have about a minute and 10 seconds. Then my apologies. I should have the prompt and the article on the same slide, but I guess it got like moved off or something. And yeah, you have 2 minutes. Right, about a minute 15. I can see if anyone's trying. Nope. That's the prompt. So if you need the prompt again, I'll actually paste it in Crowdcast because that might be easier. Oops. Yeah. You have about 30 seconds left, and then I want you to hit the submit button. So in 30 seconds, please hit submit. So we have 3 active right now. Okay, that's mine. Okay, that's time. Please press submit right now. So on the real like test day, I encourage you to bring a watch that doesn't sound, or even like look at the clock and literally allocate yourself 10 minutes max. Please press submit. Please press submit. So the most important part of rhetorical analysis, in my opinion, is annotating. So we're going to go through some of these first, and then we'll go into our like I got be doing. So I already see one right here. Okay. I click the share button. I don't know if that did anything. There we go. Okay. Look at this example first. Certainty creates strength. That's the T. The thesis, or might be like however you annotate, good for you. Certainty creates strength. Certainty creates one. I see you have your you have a key. T for thesis, counterclaim. BC for broader context. HS for historical significance. C for claim. M for metaphor. Q for questioning. I don't know necessarily if that's the thesis of the article, but to some extent, I agree. I would say that to be a scientist, you have to have the courage to accept. So that part right there is what I would say is the thesis. But that's an interesting interpretation. Yeah, this is some good broader context for sure. These are metaphors. That's rhetorical questions. It's a good identification. I see there is a claim. So your thesis is in 1918 during a flu. M. Berry writes about scientists and their research using metaphors, historical claims, and questioning techniques that effectively engages the reader in a way that characterizes scientific research in an exciting manner. I don't know how to end off the thesis. That's fair, Stephen. I'm assuming this is Stephen. So I didn't get to my thesis, and I'm probably just going to type it out in the Crowdcast chat because that's on me. So let's see if there's any other. We have this one submitted, which is just blank. That's okay. We'll look at mine, I guess. So here, what I wrote is I underlined some stuff. Oh, I'll click the share button. Sorry. So on mine, what I always do is I first look for all I read. I see certainty, certainty, uncertainty, uncertainty. I note that down as anaphora. I also note that down as antithesis, because that's what it is. And then I see there's not the courage, it is the courage. That's broad juxtaposition. And it's also, what's the author's purpose? That he wants to sort of convince people that scientists have courage to accept. And then I found a simile here, like a crystal. Some of the stuff you found earlier, I don't know, but whoever annotated, I'm assuming it's Stephen. I didn't find the historical claim, so good for you for that, because sometimes we find different annotations. So like this thing of everything, the fact that that's italicized seems to indicate that like he wants to place extra emphasis on it. And yeah, thank you for annotating. And then this part is just rhetorical questions. And this part is an extended metaphor about a flood of colleagues will pave roads, because like there wasn't a road actually paved, things like that. So off the top of my head, using this passage, my thesis would be thesis in the, there was in the 1918 flu epidemic account, The Great Influenza, author John Berry explains the the necessity for scientists to embrace uncertainty in order to, I like using in order to because it makes a very clear purpose, in order to characterize scientific research to his audience of the general public that the experiments scientists, or honestly, I think this almost might be like written to scientists, because he's like, in the wilderness, scientists must work. If the researcher succeeds, others follow. Not all scientific investigators can deal comfortably with uncertainty, and those who might don't know where to look and don't have confidence. Experiments results desired. So I feel like he's trying to communicate to like the greater audience, or like he's trying to, I guess I would say, to his audience of scientists that risk-taking is necessary to create progress. So that would be my kind of thesis. And yes, Stephen, I would think that parallelism is actually probably more so parallelism than anaphora, because anaphora usually, I would say, 3 repetitions that make it anaphora. But yeah, that's definitely parallelism. Oh, no, it's, sorry, I take that back, Stephen. It is not parallelism, because parallelism means you have a noun, a verb, a possessive, same, like Bob ate food. Joe, I can't even think, like Joe slept in bed, ate in the house, something like that. So you have to have the exact same sentence structure, and this would not be parallelism, because even if you have the first word that repeats, it's anaphora for repetition, but it is not parallelism because it's not the exact same parallel. Like, I hope that makes sense. Okay, so now I want to see if there are anything new. I don't think so. Just a line here. But I guess we'll show names because I think it's better to make like personal feedback. And this is my okay. This shouldn't be here, but just a reminder. Actually, yeah, turn in your thesis. So just like copy and paste it from what it was earlier, or use your example if you remember it. And Stephen, antithesis is when in a sentence they directly contrast the other argument. So, for instance, let me think. A really obvious example. An antithesis example is like emphasizing the direct opposites. It's usually like a literary device that helps you get convinced in a specific way. So I think even this like website highlights a really, really great example of antithesis, which is why I'm pulling it up, because like it's not coming up. So like it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. That's an example of antithesis. Or better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. So using those contrasting arguments, that would be an example of antithesis. So yeah, I probably should have told you to your prompt or leave your thesis in there. Actually, I don't see a point in showing pseudonyms. So if we go back, actually, I can find your thesis. During a flu epidemic, John M. Barry writes about scientists and their research using metaphors, historical claims, and questioning technique. Engages the reader in a way that characterizes scientific research through an exciting manner. Okay. Sorry. Yes. There we go. Sorry if I exited out on you, Stephen. You can keep typing if that's a thing. And I will also paste mine. So like type your thesis and leave it in a Word doc, because that's how like I can keep track of it and so can you. Sorry, my Nearpod crashed. Okay, so my thesis. Yeah, feel free to edit your answer. Sorry about that. There's one. And let me see if any of y'all submitted your new theses. If you are not in the Nearpod, like the person here, I don't know how to say your first name, but your last name, Mr. and Mrs. Liu, just feel free to leave in the comments, because that's totally okay. I'm on board with that. Let me know, Stephen, if you're still typing your thesis, because if not, then we'll just move on. Cool. So now we have our prompt with our essay. So it should look like this. So now that you've annotated and you found some of those devices, now we'll start crafting some of our examples. So I'm not sure if we can go into the past, but that's okay. Oops, that shouldn't say that. All right, so let's add an open-ended question. So what is your first topic sentence? I think we might try a different platform next time because it's just difficult to have like that reference of your annotations with the example of your topic sentence. So that's on me. But if you were able to like save your annotations, just like write down a topic sentence. And I think we'll just do one body paragraph and just to keep it short today, because I don't want to keep you until 7 something. And this was the passage. In fact, I think I will lock it to this. So submit your topic sentences, and yeah, if you need help or anything, just leave me a comment in Crowd, and I can try and help you out. Remember, I would encourage you to write your body paragraphs in the chronological order. Is this the first topic sentence in the first body paragraph? Yes. Sorry about that. I didn't see your comment there for a sec. So my first body paragraph topic sentence would be something along of to introduce his argument. The author, which in this case is Barry. Barry utilizes anaphora. No, I would say juxtaposition, actually. Juxtaposition and asserting that certainty creates strength, yet can we end sentences with prepositions? Yeah, I'd say so. Okay. I don't know in what scenario you would, but yeah, you could. Barry utilizes anaphora and antithesis to introduce the audience scientists to the essay, which creates the effect of the trustworthiness and how knowledgeable the author is. Stephen, I think that's a pretty good topic sentence. Yeah, it works. Tell me what you're about to talk about, and then you talk about it. I think I think antithesis is still an okay example. And then my answer was to introduce this argument. Barry utilizes juxtaposition in his first paragraph when asserting that certainty creates strength. Yet to be a scientist, it is the courage to embrace uncertainty. For me, I actually I combine the quotes, the evidence, with the topic sentence. I think that's totally acceptable as long as you go. Good job. All right. So next up, we're going to do evidence and commentary. So yeah, let's do it. So write a few sentences being specific text evidence and including your own analysis or commentary. So now let's do that. So I'm going to once again put up this FRQ for this, and then this will be the last thing we do, Stephen, and whoever else is on the stream today, or if you're watching the replay. And then afterwards, we'll do a quick wrap up. And let me know, Stephen, whenever you submit your few sentences of evidence and commentary. I have it put up here of the text. Okay. I'll type my own, I guess. Sorry. Here's what I'm going to do. Screenshot it and aside from this stuff. And sorry for making this run on for an hour. I typically do about 40 to 15-minute streams. Today's practice essay will just take a little bit longer. Sorry, I'm just typing up mine. Well, I'm going to submit mine now. I'll give you about 2 more minutes. All right, about 1 minute remaining. Okay, great. Berry's use of antithesis as shown through certainty creates strength, uncertainty creates weakness, delineates the writer's abstract ideas that would be portrayed throughout the essay. This creates the effect of other scientists becoming suspenseful about how certainty will relate to the flu epidemic going on. During the first paragraph, the use of an aphorism helps your go through the essay, making it a coherent piece. This seemingly makes it so that the reader goes into the body paragraphs with a quick sense of flow. After reaching the core of the passage, enlightened through plentiful metaphors and rhetorical questioning. That's a pretty solid evidence and commentary. I just think it's centered a little bit more on evidence and a little less on the amount of comments. So like, for instance, like you talk about the metaphors and questioning. I don't even know if that's necessarily needed in this paragraph because you're going to talk about it later. I think it serves as a pretty good transition sentence. So what I would do to improve this is just add a little bit more about how the use of the contrast of abstract uncertainty and certainty, how that helps build the author's purpose and how it actually makes his message communicated out to the audience a little bit more. So I'll show you how I did that. So I say Berry utilizes antithesis when inserting that certainty gives one something upon which to lean, yet to be a scientist requires you to embrace certainty. The author utilizes the antithesis because it places emphasis on the importance of uncertainty when conducting research, directly communicating to his audience the importance of taking action when uncomfortable. Moreover, the author's use of antithesis helps build his purpose of characterizing scientific research as risky and intentional. The additional emphasis on cast by the antithesis very more effectively communicates his message to the audience of scientists. So what I do a little bit different from you, Stephen, is what I kind of like link back to my thesis. And I think that that's a little bit helpful in terms of AP readers, because what you want to do in every single body paragraph is link back to the and make sure that you're just like constantly like restating your point almost and making it very clear what your message was. But I think that was a very good start. And we'll be doing rhetorical analysis review throughout the year, so you'll have more opportunities to write body paragraphs. But thank you so much for being an active participant. Oh, we have another one. It uses repetitive phrases that begins with certainty and uncertainty to emphasize to the readers how important it is for a scientist to embrace uncertainty. In the beginning of the passage, uncertainty creates weakness to show readers something. Stephen, I think you can have multiple rhetorical paragraph. I used to do two, but honestly, I think having one per paragraph allows for more like analysis of each one. But I would do what your AP teacher tells you to do, because honestly, what you're doing in class and what you'll be writing for class is what's best. I prefer doing one per paragraph, and that's why I up to 4 body paragraphs. But honestly, like I've also done like 3 body paragraphs of 2 devices each, and that also works. But great question. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think this is a good start. I don't know if this is like a completed body paragraph because you kind of end it on to show readers. But what's really good is the whole statement of the device and the purpose of the use of the device. So what I like to do in my paragraphs is I like to first like give the example why the author used it and how the use of that device helps them build their purpose. So those 3 things are absolutely necessary, in my opinion, for every single one of your body paragraphs. Just be careful not to summarize, because summary is death. So don't ever do it. All right. Okay. So we're actually going to go end this activity and conclude it. So do you have any questions for me about rhetorical analysis, Fiveable? If you have any questions, please let me know, because I'd be glad to answer them. And yeah, I'll leave it about extra 30 seconds or so before I conclude the stream. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciated spending an hour of my time with y'all talking about rhetorical analysis. And if for those of you on the replay, thanks for sticking with me. And later. Bye.